old homes are my favorite, but they definitely come with their quirks. I had a viewer that commented on one of my videos, and I'm so excited to touch on this, but she asked if I could do a video on older homes and the weird nooks and crannies that can come with older homes, and what the heck do we do with them, right? So I'll share a little bit from personal experience. My home was originally built in 1941 and then remodeled in the 70s. And before we got a hold of it, it had been stuck there for a very long time. We had a central spiral staircase right where this entertainment center is now. It just was not gonna work for our family. We had to relocate the stairs to the back of the house and really reconfigure the space. Now that was great. We have brand new staircase and all of that is glorious. But in the process of doing that, we actually created more weird spaces and unused spaces in the house, because then all of a sudden we had this huge open cavity, I guess, underneath the stairwell that just felt like really wasted space. So at the time, I didn't really have plans for it. And then as we started to get further into the construction, I realized that there was actually a significant amount of space here that we should really utilize. So what we did is on one side, the tallest side of underneath the stairwell, it actually is accessible from our primary suite. So I made myself my own closet so that I didn't have to share with my husband. And then on the other side is where our butler's pantry is. We created these pull-out drawers, pull-out shelving that gave us extra pantry space. So I didn't get just one, but two additional storage spaces out of being creative with weird nooks that were created through the remodel of our home. But also you can just find these strange spaces or unused spaces if you purchase an older home or you've grown up in an older home and just never knew what to do with it. So I'm super excited to touch on this and to give you some tips and tricks for how to utilize those spaces, both with remodeling and without remodeling. So to start, I just kind of want to touch on why some of these quirks are in your home. It can be frustrating, especially if you have just purchased an older home and are moving in and trying to figure out how you're going to live in this space. You just are like, what do I do with this random shelf that's too high for me to reach? Or I have this closet, but it just is in an awkward space and I don't know if what to use it for. It doesn't feel like something I should utilize in the room that it's in, or I don't know how to utilize it. I just want to touch on the fact that our modern lives are very different from how people used to live. So the things that they need, the lives that they lived, the schedules that they had, and how they operated in their homes were very different than how we operate in our homes today. So that's why you'll find some of these things. There maybe was an old fireplace that got boarded up, or potentially like an old wood stove where cooking and heat was coming from for the home. There may have been older shelving that was once there that has since been removed and now you're just left with kind of a weird open nook. Or, you know, there's a myriad of reasons that these weird corners and nooks and crannies occur. But I just want to hopefully help you have new eyes for those spaces and see them as opportunities and potential and not as annoying and frustrating. So as we go along in this, just keep your mind open to the possibilities of what these different areas can be. So I'm going to touch on 5 of the most common different areas that I find most people struggle with figuring out how to utilize this space. And this first one is going to be like a small mini closet, or like a really deep nook that just doesn't quite make sense. It's not quite big enough to be like a coat closet, but it's also seems like it should be storage, and it's just confusing on how to use it. So the first thing I would do is we're going to add lighting and custom shelves so that the space becomes more usable. It doesn't have to be expensive, obviously. If you can bring in a cabinetry company to do custom shelving exactly for your needs, that's going to be the most functional. But another thing we can do is just get some hooks and some plywood or some wood from your local hardware store and create open shelving and get the bins that you need to label and to actually utilize the storage for something that you might need it for. Some of those things could be like your cleaning closet or craft supplies, different hobbies that you might have, or maybe it's for kids' sports things that you just don't have a place to put their stuff, especially off season when they're not in the sport at the moment, but you need a place to put their things. These are great ways to utilize those weird mini closets or off nooks that just kind of seem like they don't really have a purpose. The second one that's really common is like a super small built-in bookcase. It's not really deep enough for modern use, but I think this is really a good moment to actually think just decorative and pretty. Paint it or add wallpaper. You can add beadboard, give it some charm and some character, and then stack curated vintage books, plants, art. It is nice to maybe mix function with beauty if you're able to. So if you have a big book collection, you can maybe use it as a mini library. It's just not big enough to like actually have bins and storage and use it fully for extra storage space. I would definitely just think of maybe just something that you would enjoy having. Make it something that is more on the decorative side and more of just a special feature of your home. It could be a talking point for people, especially if you want a moment to go bold. Those are great places to really have the fun wallpaper, do the pretty paint color, maybe add some lighting. It doesn't even have to be, you know, like adding an electrical box or anything. There's a lot of really great lighting these days that are chargeable lights, so that all you have to do is screw them to the wall and then charge them every now and then, and they work for quite a few hours. Candles, anything like that, just to create a moment in that space and make it a beautiful moment. The third one is just your standard awkward corner near your stairs or hallways. I think that this is the best place to add benches and hooks, make a little mini mudroom if it's in an area that makes sense for that. Obviously, anywhere you can have a little bit of a seating moment is really great, so don't be afraid to just have a little chair with a little side table where you can have a moment for your coffee or to read a book. Let your awkward, unusable corners become those little special moments, similar to what we just talked about with like a mini bookcase or built-ins that aren't quite functional. Allow it to be a special moment for you, but it could end up being really functional, especially if you have this space to make it kind of like a mudroom, or like a place to put a bench and your boots and hang your coat, or have the moment where you can sit and read a book and make it just a sweet little space. So the fourth one is those awkward overhead cabinets. You're usually gonna find them in a kitchen, but they could also be in like a laundry room. If they're just small and don't fit very much in them, I would just get rid of them. Take them off, put up some floating shelves that are actually deep enough, put plates and cups on if it's in the kitchen, or to put bins like your maybe cleaning supplies or your laundry supplies if it's in a laundry type space, or even in a bathroom, wherever they may be. Obviously place the items that are most functional for that space there, but don't be afraid of open shelving and utilizing open space, or even just removing it altogether if you don't need the storage, and you can just add in some trim work or a tile or something to add some character to the wall. Just get rid of the awkward overhead cabinets. I think we have this thing ingrained in us that you like can't get rid of shelving, or that like you have to keep it because it's storage. Honestly, you'll be much better off just getting rid of the awkward storage and replacing it something pretty like a wall covering or a floating shelf where you can actually fit more items and have it be more functional for you. The last one I'm going to talk about, which is one of my favorite, is your like basement utility zone areas. I just had a reel that I put out recently about a wine room that I did. I did it a few years back actually, but it's still one of my favorite projects, where we turned a utility room that had like a water softener, I think it was, in there. And so we had to get creative, and we had the cabinetry built around the water softener so you couldn't tell that it was in there. But we turned this unused space, it was like really a whole room in a basement, into a custom wine room. And it was just such a luxurious feature to add to this home. And I just think whatever it is that's your thing, don't be afraid to turn a utility room. Use cabinetry or hire a designer if you need to come up with some ideas on how to hide the utilities that are in there. Be able to use the open space for functional items. Maybe it's not even something fun like a wine room, but maybe you just need to have it to be a storage room or whatever. But just because it seems like a blank room with just some pipes or functional items in it. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to live that way. Reimagine it for the space that it is. Create it into something that is functional and serves you and your lifestyle. So I do want to say, now that I've done all of that, make sure that what you're doing in these different spaces of your home don't completely clash with the rest of your home. Make sure that it flows with the style of your home, that anything else that you maybe have done with your home still fits, you know, like an overall arching theme. Like every room can be a little bit different, but maybe you have your cohesive color palette, you have trim work that goes throughout, whatever your couple of items are that you keep consistent through your home, make sure these spaces have them, just so that your whole home feels like it was intentional, that you're not just upgrading one space and this one space feels like totally off and different and on its own. So old homes are full of story, and every quirk is a chance to make your home feel more like you and to utilize it in a fun, unique way. So if your old home has a weird space, let me know. Maybe I can feature you in a video and help you with your specific space. I would absolutely love to do that. I also will attach my remodel document here. It's a free 20-page remodel document if that's something that would help you. I'd love for you to grab that, and yeah, see you in the next one.